focus, audio. Alright, think we're good?
Hi, this is Edwin and welcome to our new OCUS live session on how to use Lightroom when working with OCUS. In this section, we're going to talk about where good photos actually come from. In this context, what we mean by a good photo is a photo that's clean from a technical point of view and well executed under guideline instructions or a certain brand. There are three elements that you need to have checked before you get to shooting to increase your chances of getting your assignment validated. The first one is about sharpness, more specifically, camera shake. Simply get yourself a camera tripod and take it with you and use it when the place is dark and you're not sure about the results you may get. Sharpness is something that you can add to your photos when you load them on your computer, but camera shake is really difficult to fix, even with current tools we have in our editing software of choice. The second one is white balance. I would argue that even if you shoot in RAW format, nothing beats getting your colors right on camera instead of correcting them in post-production. Because at OCUS, we work with JPEGs. The best thing for you to do is to carry a gray card in your backpack. You can take a shot with the gray card in frame with the same light conditions you're going to be using for your general shoot, and then you will use it as reference when you are in Lightroom to sample and neutralize the tone in your photo. The other alternative is to use a white balance preset that you have in your camera. Try them and see which one helps you to get the tones as neutral as possible even before you start to shoot. The third one is framing. In order to have a good framing, it's important that you know the final cropping that OCUS is going to apply to your photos. We have that information in every guideline to help you make the best choices when you're on site and leave enough space around the subject, the main subject, and to avoid cropping parts of it, which might lead to a reshoot. This guideline information applies to all categories of photography, be it food, portrait, or architecture. First, you need to create a parent folder on your computer like this, Pictures, and then OCUS Assignments. Inside OCUS Assignments, you're going to create two additional folders. One called Lightroom Catalog, and there you're going to put the Lightroom catalog that you're going to use when working with OCUS. And the other one is going to be called Media, and that's where the actual photos are going to be saved. By now, your structure should look something like this. Picture, OCUS Assignments, then Lightroom Catalog, and then the other one called Media. You need to do one more thing after creating the Media folder. Create a folder for your current year and then 12 different folders for each month, and make sure to use numbers instead of names for each month, so they are always in order when you access the folder. This way, it's going to be easier for you to select the files you want to transfer the photos to after creating this structure. Now we're going back to Lightroom. After you plug your memory card, you should see an import dialog box. Here's where you see the files you want to import from your camera into your local hard drive. The first thing you're going to do is to pay attention to the top part of the dialog box and notice the flow from left to right that your files are going to take. From the source, which is your memory card, to the destination, which is a specific folder for the assignment that you created before. And the method you're going to use: copy as DNG, copy, move, and add. Since this is an introductory course, we're not going to go as deep into each of these functions you have on this box, but let us know if this is something that you guys might want to see in the future. Once you have located the files you're going to import, I recommend you open the file renaming option to the middle right of your screen and set your file naming convention as shoot name plus sequence. Why? Because then you can use the assignment ID as the shoot name, and every photo you take is going to have the number according to the sequence of events during the shoot. There's also this section titled Apply During Import, where you can apply different keywords to your files. One way to expedite this process is to have a little note on your Note app with different groups of keywords according to the type of photo you're going to import. So you can copy and paste them instead of typing them every time. Make sure you're copying the files and not moving them, so you can have a backup in case your importing process fails for some reason. After this, All you have to do is click on Import, and Lightroom is going to import the files into the folder for the current month you assigned before. Okay, now that we have the files on our local hard drive, we're going straight to the selection process. Say you have many photos to go through in order to get to the amount of media OCUS is asking for in the assignment. You also have many ways to filter and get those files you consider to be the best ones for each type of photos we are asking. You can play with the size of the thumbnails if you consider this will help you to be faster. Or not, this is up to you. But if you don't want to jump into seeing one photo at a time, you can just stay in the grid view and use the stars to classify your photos to get to the ones you need. You can also use flags and different colors to classify your photos, but I'm gonna give you my personal preference, which is stars. Why? Because it allows me to go quickly through a large or small amount of files and know what goes to the trash, what stays, and what gets selected to be your main files. You can copy the following structure and apply it to your workflow if you think this is going to help you. 1 star for the files that you are not erasing, 2 stars for the keepers, 3 stars for the main-bs, 4 stars for the client delivery, in this case, OCUS delivery, 5 stars for your portfolio material. You need to build your own organization from 1 to 5 stars, because if you do it the other way around, you will find yourself going back and forth between 5 and 3 stars, making it harder for you to decide what to upload or add to your portfolio. Now let's go to the filter bar. I want to quickly mention that you can use the filter bar to select all your catalog at once and then start playing with different criteria, like metadata, and inside this you will find the cameras and lenses you use the most, also attributes that you can use to filter your files to only, for example, see 3 stars and above, and text if you want to search for keywords and other stuff related to selection and file management. Now that you know you found the absolute best photos for each room, dish, portrait, or whatever the assignment is asking for, you need to rename them. It is better to rename them now instead of doing it during the export process, because if OCUS or any other client comes back to you about a specific photo they need to replace, or as if you have a slightly different variant, your file names won't match, and you will need to go through them, visually comparing them to find the file you're looking for. So, next you will select your file and click on Library, then Rename Photo, and now, depending on the guideline instructions, you will see that you need to rename the file in a certain way. Sometimes it is only words, like name of restaurant, underscore, name of dish. Other times you will need to open the reference file from the assignment description, and you will need to convert the dish name into codes, or have both names and numbers, but it all depends on the guidelines you're following. You can be as specific as you want, and even save presets for these naming conventions, so you don't have to repeat every step on every assignment you do. This file renaming step is really important because if you guys haven't done it correctly before uploading them to OCUS, this will create a series of additional steps for the whole operation that sometimes involves contacting an image creator again, some other times contacting the point of contact, and even renaming the files internally at OCUS. White balance. We pride ourselves on liberating our community of image creators from the need of doing the editing themselves. However, because we also understand the limitations that working conditions sometimes impose on you, we need you guys to prepare the JPEG files just enough for us to take over the rest of the post-production process and have the quality that our client are asking for. This means, first, you fix the white balance using the gray card you took with you to the shoot. This is done by using the eyedropper tool and sampling the gray card, so you can have a neutral white balance and tint values that you can later copy and paste to the rest of the files that you shot under the same light conditions. Exposure matching is going to be really helpful when you have shootings in the same space and brightness conditions could change from one shot to the other. So here we have this shoot where the light from the window wasn't super consistent, but we still want to homogenize the exposure level across as many photos as we can. What you need to do is to go to the Develop module, and here you need to have the film strip active in the lower half of your screen, so you can select all the files you want to apply this to. Once you have selected the group of files, you need to click on the photo you want to use as reference for the exposure level you want to use, and then you can tell that you have used this one as reference, because if you look at the thumbnails, while the whole group is surrounded by a light gray color, this one is going to have a white box around it. This is your active photo. Next, you go to the settings menu and you will look for match total exposures. Click on it and you will see that the exposure of the other files get as close as possible to the reference you selected. This is a powerful feature if you use it in a RAW-based workflow, because you won't be able to have as much information on your files with JPEG format as you would with RAWs. This is another reason why we encourage you to always shoot in RAW and use JPEG only when you export the final version, the one you are uploading to the OCUS platform. In this final step, we're going to talk about exporting your files and how you can save yourself a lot of time by setting up your parameters only once and then forgetting about them. Now that white balance, exposure, and renaming are done, all you need to do is to export your files. The easiest way to do this is by creating an export preset. And you do this by selecting the files, then going to File, Export, and customizing a few settings on this export dialog box. First is location. You can select same folder as original photo and check the little checkbox next to Put in subfolder. This allows you to keep your JPEGs separate from your RAW files, but inside the same master folder for that assignment. Next is file renaming. Since this step was already covered before, you can ignore it altogether. If you need to deliver additional video files, here you can choose the output format and quality. This will depend on the guideline specifics. Now, under File Settings, you will need to make sure JPEG is selected, because our OCUS platform only works with JPEG files. Same for the color space. We only work with sRGB, so please change these settings to sRGB. Size limit is a matter of which camera you're using, but you can limit it to around 10 megabytes per file. This should be more than enough if the photos were correctly exposed on camera, and you can leave the quality to 100%. Image resizing. Here you can activate resize to fit and select long edge, and under it you can set it for 5000 pixels for the longest size. This size is more than enough for all purposes that our client are using the photos for. You can also leave the resolution for 300 pixels per inch. Don't apply any sharpening, because if we allow this, we have learned that this is something that changes from one image creator to another, so it is best to leave it untouched. It is really important that you guys leave the metadata information on your files, because it allows us to have a better understanding of your working conditions, the gear you use, and have a better structure on our own image library to develop new products in the future. About watermarks. Please don't add watermarks, because you're making these images for a paid assignment, not for your social media. After you have customized your export settings, you need to click on the Add button on the left panel and name your preset. Maybe OCUS Export is a good name. It is up to you. Click on Export and then you're good to go. So there you have it. This is what you need to know about Adobe Lightroom in order to have a smooth post-production process with OCUS. Don't keep your questions to yourself and share them with us or other fellow image creators on our different platforms. Thank you and see you next time.